Hello to all those business owners and business executives out there. My name is David Solomon, and what I do every day, I'm a fractional chief revenue officer.
I'm Jennifer He. I'm a fractional chief marketing officer.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you've been listening to this podcast, we've been sharing our experiences and advice on what we think will make your business better, especially when you're thinking of growing and scaling. And if you are in Canada and you are now here listening to five political leaders talk about what they want for Canada, it's their personal brand. Their images out there. Their faces are plastered all over the place. But what do you think of them? Now imagine taking that to your business. Yes, maybe not your literal face, but your face is the image of the company. So, Jennifer, you're a brand specialist. You're experienced in this. When you talk about that the company's image begins with you, what does that mean?
Um, there's something I have to confess first.
Uh-oh.
When I used to work for a big corporation, I didn't really care about personal brands. I was like, okay, your business is your business. It shouldn't interfere or associate with who you are. Um, not after I left big corporations, started my own business, did I realize how important personal brand is. Then when I reflected on personal image and brand, it's actually very important in big corporations as well. When you look at it, let me ask the audience or ask you, David, um, for Apple, like how many followers are there? Are like
Unbelievable.
following Tim Cook instead of Apple, right? So Elon Musk. I know it's getting very controversial these days, but if you look at companies like Tesla or SpaceX, they've got their company brand, their
Hmm.
product brand, right? Different models, and then the personal brand is huge. Um, so let's talk about that. And when we say image, what do we mean by that? You mentioned the words face, but then when we think about an image of a person, what what do we mean about that?
Well, I used face as a not as a literal word, but
Mm-hmm.
as a contextual. I mean, I think when I think of Apple, I don't think of Tim Cook. I actually still think of Steve Jobs. And when I
Mm-hmm.
think of Microsoft, I don't think of anybody who's there today. I mean, like you think of to me, even I go back to, for those of you who are old enough to remember Remington, Victor Kayam said, I love this company so much, I bought the company. And it was his face, his name. He put himself in front. And I
Mm-hmm.
think what you said about Elon Musk is exactly right. It's not his features,
Mm-hmm.
but what he aspires to, what he
Mm-hmm.
desires, his
Mm-hmm.
visions.
Mm-hmm.
That is what the company is all about.
Yeah.
And good and bad, if you're talking about, Apple being B2C and all Remington B2C, but same thing with Jack Welch when he was running General Electric, he was the CEO. Same thing. The company reflected his image,
Yeah.
his vision. And I think that is what a lot of business owners don't realize is that you're still the leader. You're still the one guiding the ship.
Yeah. So image is the colloquial word. We say, the company's image and somebody's image. It's really a personal brand. So we all have five senses. It's how people see you, they
Mm.
hear you, right? They observe you and they experience you. And I wouldn't use the word smell, but sometimes that matters too.
But you know what? I think what you're saying is actually
Five senses.
it's very appropriate because when you walk into an Apple store, you get the image of the company, the brand of the image, the vision from Steve Jobs, what he wanted, that experience, and that continues to this day. So yeah, the smell is important. Yes, and I'm not talking about folks like the Body Shop and all those places, but you get the sensation.
Mhm.
And I think that's what you're looking at from an image perspective.
Yeah.
I gotta ask you though, but it's funny because when we talk about image, It's like the one thing that I always say is like, are you a product company or do you have like a vision? Like,
Mhm.
what's your image for the company? And I see, like, I always compare it with my students, Apple to Microsoft. That
Mhm.
Apple doesn't sell products, Microsoft sells products.
Mhm.
Okay, from it, what do you see? What do you see
Apple
from that
does sell
brand?
Apple does sell products, but let's clarify here. So there are three kinds of brands.
Hmm.
Um, the company brand, product brand, and personal brand. So in this podcast, we're talking about personal brand. Personal brand is one of the brands that you need to take care of. What we mean by that, it is who you are and how people experience you in
Hmm.
relation to how you serve them. So, some of the stuff like that's really private stuff that might not be irrelevant to people. Um, like people just don't care about that. So that
True,
that
but
part of you, like if you build too much on that, you're gonna lose the business. So it's really it relates to how much, what kind of insights do you have? How much do you know about your target audience?
yeah, I think it even goes beyond just the target audience. It's also the industry. It's also there's a lot of more. I think that it depends on what you want to convey. When I talk to real estate agents, financial advisors, accountants, lawyers, I say, look,
Mhm.
guys, vanilla,
Mm,
all vanilla, until you become something.
yeah.
And I'll give you an example. There's a real estate agent here in Montreal whom I know quite well, and she said, listen, I am not a real estate agent vanilla. This is what I do.
Mm,
This is who I help, and this
mm,
is why I help them. And
yeah.
I'm actually quite impressed because now she's got herself her brand, her personal brand
Hmm.
is now clear.
Hmm.
I know somebody else, you and I both know her.
Yeah.
She's a marketer, and she only wears, she pretty much almost always wears red.
Hmm.
And her brand, and she wants to be known as that woman in red, the lady in red.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see that she doesn't have to say anything,
Hmm.
but all her visuals,
Yeah. The visually, she is deliberately building that
the
brand.
lady in red,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think that that just exudes your personal brand, which then
Hmm.
leads to your company, which then leads to everything else.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, when people understand what you stand for, and
Hmm.
this is from a sales perspective,
Hmm.
now I know who and what you are and why you are.
Hmm.
Doing business with me now suddenly has changed
Yeah.
because of that image and that personal brand.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. If you were
Hmm.
to help people,
Hmm.
okay, I want to really define and get my personal brand together.
Yeah.
What do they do, Jennifer?
Um, a personal brand has several components, and we mentioned, five senses. How do you get people to know you that stand out from the competition? How do I work with clients? Is first of all, I'm looking at are you clear about your value proposition? If you are not clear, then we will go to find your calling. So a person, when you start a business, or you are the owner or the founder or the leader of a business, you must be very clear about what you're passionate about. But that's not enough. What you are passionate about, what you are good at,
Mhm.
that has a market need for it. So those three components. Otherwise, you're not going to be successful in business setting. And if you're not clear about that, we will go back to find your calling. Is those three components. Once you're very clear about your value proposition and what you're selling, then I would say, okay, you need five kinds of stories to build that. And David, earlier on, what you mentioned, it's not only the target audience, and it's that's a great point. It's about the stakeholders, because there are people who will be your advocates, right? There are people who resonate with your stories, and they will help you spread the word. So I would say, you work, yeah, your personal brand, you build it for all the stakeholders. but at the center should be your target audience.
The beautiful thing is the word of mouth. So when someone wants to remember you, how did they remember you? And someone said to me, I'm a storyteller. He goes, David, every time we talk, you're telling me a story. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I want to be remembered as the storyteller. Okay. And that's really what it is. But a lot of people, what they end up doing, not realizing, is that their image falls into some negative.
Mhm.
And when you got to be really, really careful that if you don't control that personal brand, you don't position yourself in a way,
If you don't tell your stories, somebody else will.
somebody else will, and then you're going to be stuck with the wrong image. And again, if I go back to what we see in elections, for example, and that is like, where no matter where you are in the world, if the other side takes the narrative away from you, you're going to lose.
Mhm.
You have to control your own narrative, which goes back to your whole personal brand and your whole business and what have you. So let's talk about 5 foundational like aspects of a
Mhm.
strong personal brand. Okay,
Mhm.
like let's go through this. Let's help people to kind of, if they could write it all out right now, Jennifer. What
Mhm.
are those 5 types of stories the business leaders should be developing to sharpen their brand?
Mhm. So first of all, like, again, find your calling is important before the 5 stories, I would say, because you need to be the genuine self.
Right.
Find yourself, and then what you're good at, and then people have a need for it. So then we come to the 5 stories. The first is, there is no sequential order, but you will need those stories in different occasions, scenarios. Defining moment story, how you come to this stage, how you come to where you are right now, that resonate with people. And we all went through life's ups and downs, right? So your defining moment story, that's the first one. Then the second one is future vision. Where are you going? That
Hmm.
you can excite people, inspire people, and rally people around you, take them on the same journey. So that's the future vision story. Again, there is no sequential, relationship between among those stories. I'm just saying it so that you will remember. That's the second one, future vision story. Then the third one is marketplace stories. So you are in your field, you are an expert in your field. So share with us something that your target audience or stakeholders don't know, don't know about. That requires depth. Then people will, refer you, right? So for instance, David, I know you are an expert in revenue generation, and told me, about market insights. Something. Have you thought about this? And I've got industry insights for
Hmm.
this. And you told me that. Then I'm like, okay, I'm registered. Your expertise is in this area. So that's the third story. Sorry, you wanted to say something.
No, no, go on, please.
So that's the marketplace story. Then the fourth one is client success stories, right? So this is kind of like a proof. Um, then your target audience or somebody can relate to. Oh, clients like that have success with you because of the work you do. It's a proof, it's a credibility play. So for client success stories,
Hmm.
then the fifth one is your company brand story. I would always say a brand is your business system. So basically, what you believe in that shape your company to be like this. The products and services that you offer, the customer experience, that you offer, and
Hmm.
what do you believe in that you integrate, embed all those beliefs in all your offerings. So those are the 5 kinds of
Right.
stories you need to get prepared
You know, it's
all the
it's
time.
it's funny because when I go networking or connecting with people and I meet people, they're
Yeah.
like, so what's I started asking them, tell me about your story, tell me about your journey.
Hmm.
They kind of look at me like, what do you mean by that? And I say, look, I'll start. My aha moment in starting my business happened 2 years ago.
Hmm.
I was at a conference listening to Vern Harnish talking about scaling up, my second time hearing him. realizing that I've been teaching what I'm doing. I enjoy what I'm doing. Why aren't I doing it full time? That was my aha moment. Like that was my defining moment of, okay, go out and do what you're doing today.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I wanted to build was a fractional chief revenue officer service and
Yeah.
go beyond those services. That
Yeah.
was what I was trying to build.
Mm-hmm.
What I know that others don't see, I've like my stories that I tell about my clients and what I go in there and I'm sitting with them and here's what happens when we have meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And they say to me, "Oh my God, we didn't know that. Oh my God, I didn't see that. Oh my God, we didn't view it like that." So like they're starting to see what I can bring to the table. And the
Mm-hmm.
success has been, well, we have now delivered new revenues to companies that they never had before.
Yeah.
They were able to pivot now with what's going on with in the United States that they couldn't pivot before. So I've
Mm-hmm.
had success. And so and when people watch my videos on LinkedIn, they're like now they're going, "Oh my God, I see the whole thing."
Mm-hmm.
So now my brand has shifted from my personal brand over the last 35 years of my career
Yeah.
from the kid who was new to this seasoned white-haired veteran who now goes and can help companies around the world. And I think that to me, that took time to build.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh
the
yeah, for sure.
yeah,
It is a lot of work. I'm not saying it's easy because for you to reflect on your whole life and
mhm,
what you offer, it's a lot of work, and it is an evolvement. Like for me and my clients, we could keep working on our personal brands because we are evolving all the time,
right,
right, David?
right. And Jennifer, I'm gonna tell you something. I think one of the things that people are afraid of is falling into this trap of, but I sound egotistical. I
Hmm.
find I'm arrogant. I'm vain. But
Hmm.
it's not that.
No,
What
it's
is it?
not about that.
What is it, Jennifer?
I think it's about what you have and you are being generous to share it with people. And I think that mindset, we need to change it first. I had that as well. I don't want that attention. To this day, my personality, I still don't want that attention. But then somebody else kind of reminded me, you need to be generous of what you know, and then if you don't, the ego part, people are smart, they will feel it. um, if you are egotistic, and we all know those characters, right, David? So we shouldn't have that um, mindset, because that to me is a sabotage behavior or limiting beliefs, because we're limiting ourselves actually.
You
um,
know, but
yes.
but let me ask you this. But to me, because you're a brand specialist,
Mhm.
to me, I think that when you have that strong personal brand, does it not exude trust with customers, employees, shareholders, all the stakeholders you referred to before?
Mhm.
Doesn't that create that relationship?
I would think so. And also it creates relationships that you might not want. Um,
What do you
yeah,
mean by
which is not a bad thing. Because I was thinking about it, like, for if we are for certain brands, or if we are for certain beliefs, and some people who don't value what we value, and we don't want them as clients, that's not a bad thing,
that?
is
Hmm.
what I meant. Because I've I've got like entrepreneurs, and over the years I've had so many conversations with entrepreneurs, at the very beginning, when we started up, or when we're not sure what we're doing, we wanted the whole world. And I've never seen successful ones want the whole world.
Well, you can't. You can't have the whole
So when
world.
we want the whole world, we are so afraid of, like, offending everybody. But then if you are everything, you are, like, you're offering service to nobody. So you
Nothing.
can't be everything to everybody.
Absolutely. And I think that it really, when you talk about your personal brand in this sense, it's also about care. It's about
Hmm.
confidence. It's about
Hmm.
connection. And
Hmm.
and really, you got to also update it.
Hmm.
You know, your brand from 20 years ago, Might not be
Yeah,
that today.
you are not the same person as you were 20 years ago.
Oh
Uh,
no,
some part of
I had
you is
darker,
the
I
same.
had darker hair back then, by the way.
Yeah, I was like, some part of you, maybe your DNA, biological DNA, but yeah, your belief system and all your experiences will evolve. So your, I would say, personal brand DNA might evolve as well.
But I also believe it goes one step further. When I think about, our value systems change, our priorities change,
Yeah.
and also what we've experienced has changed. It's evolved. Even if I'm a real estate agent, yeah, I've sold a house, a business, blah 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 blah, but
Hmm.
something along that line really defines you, and it
Hmm.
and again and again and again it redefines you, and you
Yeah.
have to constantly go back and say, is this me?
Yeah.
Does my brand?
And yeah, that's why we go back to the defining moment story, right? So
Right,
yeah, all
right.
those tools help you. Like I've got tools for those five stories, and uh, yeah, I'll just tell entrepreneurs those five stories, and if you don't, if they don't know how to work on them, and I'll help them. So either by do it for you, or do it with you, or you
Right.
do it yourself. I just tell you some framework.
But you know what? And it's not dead. People think
Mhm.
that their brand could be completely destroyed. Yes, it can easily be destroyed. It's hard to build and it's easy to destroy. But I'll take everybody back to a number of years ago. There was a young guy named Bill Clinton who gave a speech
Mhm.
at the Democratic National Convention, and they said, "What a disaster! That man ruined his career. He
Mhm.
destroyed himself."
Mhm.
4 years later, he was the president of the United States.
Mhm.
And people don't realize is that your defining moments can change. You can always come back. You can always rebuild. It's not dead, but you got to build it and you got to
Yeah.
do it right. And it's the same thing in business. And again, if your business is you,
Mhm.
and you, even if you mess up
Mhm.
in the worst way possible.
Yeah. We all mess up in our lives.
I know. I spoke to somebody the other day. He told me he had a really bad, he did a bad job.
Yeah.
Something went wrong
Yeah.
with a customer. But the way he made it up to that person,
Mhm.
he enhanced his brand.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't give up that fast.
Mhm.
Things
Mhm.
happen, and you can always build it back. So let's wrap this up. Jennifer, as we're reaching our time here together,
Mhm.
let's talk about those. What's the key takeaways that we want to share with our viewers and listeners to
Mhm.
like really get that brand transformation that they're all looking for?
Mhm. I think first is the mindset. Personal brand is important. So face it. As we said, face reality for small to medium businesses, because we've seen all those company owners. They are the advocate of the products and services that they offer. So that has a huge personal brand component to it. And then and then there are yourself, there are how people, how you see yourself, then
Hmm.
there are other aspects of how people see you, and then the third one is your true self. So you need to be aware of all those things. Find your calling,
Hmm.
work on those five stories.
Yeah.
Then we have something else at our company that we offer is personal styling, because it's not about ego or vanity. It's
Right.
about visual representation needs to align with your brand. So those are the takeaways I would highlight.
The one thing I also would like to share with people is don't be afraid to ask
Mhm.
honest people. It's a scary thing if we think, oh, this is my brand image. When you talked about five people that you really are trustworthy who will be honest with you,
Mhm.
it might be saddened to hear some of their reactions, but you also might be shocked
Yeah,
to hear the positive.
sometimes truth hurts,
Sometimes the truth hurts, and
but
sometimes
we've got to face it.
right, and sometimes you're going to go, "Is that how people really know? I didn't know that. That's wonderful." So
Mhm.
your perception, market perception. I mean, I did this a few times where I've sat down with my best clients and the people I trusted the most,
Mhm.
and I said, "Now be honest with me. Help me out here because I really want to know. I always want to make myself get better." And there have been a few tough moments in my life.
Mhm.
where I've had very truthful, honest reactions, and I went, wow, that's not where I want my brand to go.
Yeah.
And
I
so
applaud you on doing this, David. I
it's
know how
hard.
hard it is.
It's
And I've
hard.
had my moments I didn't want to face.
Mhm.
Some of the tough spot, people are gonna point at.
Right.
And I know it was super emotional and
Yeah.
it hurts, but after a while, it will help you.
And so with this, I mean, the last word that I have in this case is, if 20 people were to walk into the room today to say to you, this is your brand. Are
Mhm.
you happy with it? Are you ready to run with that? Is that what
Mhm.
you want for yourself? If
Mhm.
yes, go for it. If not, maybe you want to change it.
Yeah.
Jennifer, let's give you, I love to give you last word to you. How does
Mhm.
one start today? Where do you want them to start today? Give them that one, like if they had to do something today,
Mhm.
what could they do to start really digging deep into their brand?
Oh, just work on your defining moment story. How have you come to this where you are right now?
Your journey,
Start
people.
with that. Yeah.
Your
Or
journey.
pick any stories that you want to work on, and the key is to start. Take action.
Yep.
That's the key. Not like sitting there and saying this and that and judging whether it's a good thing to do or not. You are way past that.
Love it. Love it. And so with this, folks, I'm going to wrap this up with you. If your company doesn't outgrow you, folks, it grows through you. You are the company, whether it's you're a single person or you're part of a large organization. Just remember, the brand goes through you. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for another edition of Roots and Wings. We hope you really enjoyed this. We love doing this. We share our experiences. We're loving the feedback we're getting from folks. Um, People are asking us a whole whack of questions in sales, marketing, growth, and stuff. Send it out there. Share with us your comments. Share with us your feelings. If you haven't had a chance to, pardon me, to watch some of our previous podcasts, it's on our YouTube channel. Check it out there. Some great interviews, some great conversations. And until next time, we look forward to seeing you and hearing from you on Roots and Wings. Have yourself a wonderful time.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much.